Good afternoon, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress, and I am so glad you guys are here today. We have a wonderful show lined up for you guys today. I have gone down a massive rabbit hole this week, and I'm taking y'all with me. Okay, we're going down another big time rabbit hole today. We're going to be talking about reptilian glitch outs today and advanced technology like liquid metals and liquid crystal, liquid glass that might be masking some extraterrestrials that are here on our planet right now, who we might see in everyday life. When you turn the news on, you turn on the television and you see celebrities, and it looks like they're kind of glitching out a little bit, even with their pupils going to slits and that kind of stuff, or what looks like a low resolution glitch on your television might actually be a mask slipping. We're going to talk about it today. We're not only going to show examples of it, but we're going to get into the science behind it and see if this is even possible. Okay. And I believe it is. It is. And of course, my good friend Barry Littleton has been studying things like this for a while. I know I'm bringing the reptilian aspect into it and the shape-shifting aspect to it, but he's done videos actually on liquid metals and liquid glass before. And so we're going to combine our efforts today, and we're going to connect some dots, and it's going to be fabulous. I can't wait. This is what I do this for, y'all. And I know we may sound like total kooks, okay, but I don't think we are. I don't think we are. I just think that we are wanting to learn more and share it with y'all. And I know the chat over here, you guys are going to have plenty of wonderful comments, as y'all always do. We have the best chat on the internet over here. So thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you so much to all my moderators for being here as well today. Y'all are the best. All right. Well, if you guys would like to follow along with my shows, or like go to my archives or whatever, y'all just hit me up over on my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find my calendar of events over there. I will be at the Full Disclosure Now conference coming up in July. If you guys want to meet me down there in Florida, it's going to be at St. Petersburg, Florida. I think it's at the Serrata Resort, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it's from July the 15th through the 18th. So y'all come see me over there. And I do have a discount code if you guys want to join us down there. Please use the discount code. This is it on the screen right here. And you can find it also on my website. So be sure to come see me down there. Also, if you guys would like to support my work, I have a Patreon and I've got an Etsy shop. I'm going to be working on that today. I worked on it yesterday too. If you guys want to check out the goods over there, we've got a whole bunch more goods coming into the shop this week. Okay, well, let's get to our show today because I'm super excited about this one. And y'all know I love talking about reptilian shapeshifters and stuff. And this is the one topic that gets the Wikipedia notification underneath it every single time. So check it out, y'all. Go look down below the description and see if it's there after the show today. Okay, so let me give the summary. We are discussing and exploring the phenomenon of celebrities and newscasters and politicians and educators and whatever else glitching out on air in front of everybody. And we're connecting the connection that they have to advanced nanotechnology masks and like liquid crystals and metallic glass. Y'all, this is so wild. Y'all seen the Terminator, right? All right, we're gonna go there today. And of course, to help me figure all this stuff out and to get some ideas from and to share his infinite wisdom with us, we have my good friend Barry Littleton here with us. He is a phenomenal researcher. He has a YouTube channel and a Patreon. It's titled Barry Littleton. And please help me welcome to the show, you guys, my good buddy, Barry Littleton. Hi, Barry.
Hey, what's up, Jessica?
Hey, thank you for being here.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me. This is going to be an interesting one. You know, by no means do I claim to be an expert on this one by any means, but there may be a couple of flavors I can bring to it that might help a little bit. In fact, I just posted a video in the chat that will be a reference people can check out after this that will just be a repeat of the stuff I say anyway. So,
yeah.
But this will be an interesting one, definitely. And greetings to everybody in chat. So.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Barry. And thank you for posting that in the chat. This is a really interesting topic. I have just gone down. I go down rabbit holes every week. I mean, literally, I go down rabbit holes every week. And this is one that I came across some posts, some things that people had posted on social media, and you had mentioned Project Serpo last week, and I didn't know what that was, and I kind of looked into that a little bit. I found the author of a book called Project Serpo, and I got some really good information out of him. I watched an interview that he had done, and we're talking about the Reptilian Empire today. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that a little bit. We can discuss it and the implications of that, and how potentially this is all alleged for entertainment purposes only. But what some say, what some say, this is real talk, Barry. This is real talk. What some people say is that the reptilian they say extraterrestrials. I think they're probably cryptoterrestrials, I guess, but extraterrestrials have infiltrated, pretty much made this planet into what remember you've always said it's like a prison planet, right? Made this into a prison planet, and we are basically slaves to them and to the reptilians, and they have infiltrated every aspect of our lives, from entertainment to education to politics to religion to everything. Okay, and the angle we're taking today on this topic is seeing them glitching out and the technology they use to hide their true selves, almost like shapeshifting, right? The ones that are the controllers, I guess you can call it, for entertainment purposes only. Okay, what do you think about all that, Barry? That's a lot, right?
I'm even more interested in what did you get from the Serpo book?
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't read the book.
If you don't mind, since there's no time in quantum physics, I think they always say there's no time like the present. So might as well jump into it right now. The author, who's the author again? And just tell us all about him.
His name is Len Caston. Okay, Len Caston. I have a picture of his book right here. I found this online. This is it says A True Story of Interplanetary Travel, Len Caston. Let me take that banner down so everybody can see the how you spell his name. Okay. Now I only know the interview that I watched. Okay. So I have not read his book. Okay. So I don't claim to have read it. I don't know what all's in his book. Okay. But he was being interviewed. He said, he's a UFO researcher and an author. He wrote, it's called Project Serpo. Okay. Or The Secret Journey to Planet Serpo. I thought it was Project Serpo. It might be. He may have written multiple books for all I know. But he was being interviewed, and he was saying that he was talking about the Reptilian Empire and how it has an influence all over this planet. Okay. And what they do is the reptilian extraterrestrials, is what he was saying, have gone to over 21 star systems in this galaxy. And they have turned the inhabitants into slaves. But they're not direct slaves. They are indirectly slaves. They don't know they're slaves. That way they can be productive and work. And they basically are turning all the beings onto these planets into mindless slaves, to where they just work all the time. Okay. And they don't connect to their higher consciousness. He said they control the media, the banks.
You mean like you mean like humans?
Yes. Well, humans. Well, maybe all the humans aren't human. That's where we're going with this today. Okay, that's where we're going with it. He said they control the media, the banks, religion, entertainment, and our educational systems. I can't disagree with that. I'm just saying. I don't know. But he said that when he was asked, like, well, how can we change this, or like, what can we do about it? Are we just sitting ducks? Like, we've been taken over by the reptilian empire here. And he was like, well, how can we defeat it or push against it? Right. And Lynn said, this is what he said: our main advantage is our consciousness. He said, if we raise our consciousness, we can defeat them and they get exposed. We can reach into the higher realms, or the higher dimensions, like humans can, and the reptilians can't, he said. And they don't have that ability. And so the key, and he said, it doesn't have to be everybody or even a whole lot. But if a small percentage of the humans, or some percentage of the humans, actively raise their consciousness and look into these things and expose it, we can start working against it just as we raise our consciousness. And I feel like that's kind of like what we're doing. Okay. I feel like we're doing that right now. And I got to also say, Barry, I always say this when we do a show on reptilians. I get pushback from people, with that. And I have brought people on the show to talk about like the good side of, because not all reptilians are bad, they say. Okay. And there's good ones. And I've even reached out to people to come on the show to talk about it. And I've had people on the show to talk about it, but I still get kind of pushback about it. Like, oh, I'm giving them all a bad name.
Not to be embellishing or self-reflective, but I've brought that up several times, and we're the people that have talked about that. And I mean, I brought up, for example, Ray Hernandez and the CCRI's survey concerning reptilians, how it's not what we would expect to see. And I think that sometimes, and look, I don't want people to say, oh, Barry's pro-reptilian. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that we have to look at all aspects of it, such as the Saurians that were earth-dwelling, and then supposed we can call them Draco or whoever. I think there's several factions that came here that changed what the Saurian nature was, at least concerning humans and Earth dominance. Okay, so that's one thing, but that's not addressing the other part, like the positive part of the reptilian deal. And we when we're bringing up Ray's deal, I've shown that graph before, and I've got a video on my channel. It's called Reptilian Questions. I show all those graphs, and it's like they're very skewed in terms of negative contact. You would expect to see that it was just a very most of it should be negative, but out of how many people answered it, I mean, you've got an amazing amount of it that's positive on there, and then the biggest part is unknown. And the negative part is somewhat small. I mean, not like the others, but it's smaller. You wouldn't expect to see that. And I asked him, I said, well, what's with the big one, the unknown? Because you have to fill something out with that. I'd skipped that part of the survey. I've not encountered those beings. And he said, Barry, we got a lot of the same responses, that the beings didn't do anything to them at all. Sometimes it might have been something helpful, but just the sight of them, of physically a 9-foot bipedal crocodile is just too much. Yeah. Regardless of what it's doing, if it's assaulting or not. You know what I mean? So and we live in fear, and that's understandable. So that's one thing I want to bring up. And real quick, and I'll shut up about this. We had a video I did, and this came out of a regression I'd done with somebody. And this poor client, every lifetime we had went over in several different regressions is one of them on this planet always being some type of a warrior. And they're battling this time too. And that you carry that trauma from life to life. But they had this life that was one of respite, a life of respite. They described being something similar to what sounded to me like, God, I don't want to mispronounce this, Jessica, and I'll get butchered. Essene. Those type of prophet, spiritual people of the Bible. You know what I'm talking about? Essene, Essenes. They were describing being something like that. And it is so interesting. They were describing a pyramid that was outside of Egypt, somewhere outside of that, but on a ley line. And they described it being encased in black. So it was also, invisible to a degree. And that there was all these people like them and they're humans and they're working and doing spiritual stuff. And this was actually to keep the resonance of the planet, this pyramid. And then Jessica, they started describing, I would ask about some of the people in there and them and, take deeper, and they start describing in there, these extraterrestrials in here that are walking around, they're teaching us, helping, but they're also, some of them are students too. And I start having them describe some of them. And of course I got a couple of tall whites. Oh boy. Got some Ebens. And then they start saying, but then there's the one this is all about. And as you said, they stay in the back of the pyramid in the 0-point energy field back there. Wow. And the black one, the black reptilian. And it's all really about him. And his planet, there, that dimension, that whole thing, he is like a type of a messiah. And he's wanted by many people to be killed. And I was like, why?
Powerful, huh?
Yeah, well, said that, first of all, I'm too curious. So I start asking his physical description, and they describe him quite well. And it's not the reptilians that we're familiar with in that way. A little bit less, a little more human features, I think.
Mhm.
But they had said that this individual had the ability to focus thought into a way that it became so physical that it can destroy.
Oh.
And that they had destroyed actually civilizations that were negative because they started thinking about them and destroyed them. And then they started saying this. The reason why it's important to keep him here, because as long as he's here on this planet, a lot of these negative extraterrestrial factions and interdimensionals won't come here because he might start thinking of them, thinking about them.
Well, I guess
I mean, and real quick, and for those that remember the episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, sorry, I get a little geeked out on the ear. It's called The Survivors, is the name of that episode. And there's a gentleman, the old guy from the Westerns, he's in there, and he's called a Dowd. And they pull up to this planet that is basically been completely decimated, but there's one little like acre with this nice house on there, and his cat's in there dancing around with his wife. And Picard was really like, what's going on? This warship tries to chase him off. And then they keep coming back, and the cat's like, "What are you doing here?" And Picard's like, "You didn't expect to see me again." And it turns out that this warship had destroyed that colony there. Oh. And he was pretending to be a human that fell in love and married somebody. And he started telling Picard, he said, "I'm a Dowd from a different galaxy, a being that lives amongst false illusions and images and our creation, false illusions." Yeah, and then and it says, "What are you trying to hide from us?" He said, "It's because you destroyed that ship that took out the colony." Mm-hmm. I looked at him. He said, "Man, you don't get it. I didn't just the scope of my crime. I didn't just kill that ship, or 100 or 1,000." He looked at me. He said, "I destroyed them all." Ooh. They're called Ushnaks. They're all Ushnuk everywhere in existence.
Oh my God.
And the car was like, "Oh, you go ahead and bring them back down, or go ahead and recreate your wife and do your dances, man." And they quarantined that.
Oh my God! Yeah, leave them be.
Point being, sorry, I don't mean to take too much time for that. And I apologize to the audience, but it's just that ties into that when we talk about this positive reptilian faction. Like I said, I'm not just pro-reptilian, but we've got to look at all the information that comes through about it.
Yeah.
So, real quick, okay, concerning them using. Let's just jump into it. Amorphous metals, and something about Serpo too. Not just that. You noticed that how that gentleman had kind of demonstrated that. It sounds a lot like Star Wars.
It does.
I was describing the Serpo and the reptilian faction galactically, much like the Galactic Empire. Just like that.
The Reptilian Empire. It's based off of the Reptilian Empire.
I think honestly, I think the reptiles are a scapegoat because, and I've heard that even through Credo and them had said that the reptilians might be evolutionarily, they're lower than us because their emotions, they can be just controlled much more easily than even us. Okay. So that brings something up there. And I'll tell you, the main cats that are pulling strings are non-physicals. They're demonic, non-physical, negative, inorganic beings. Okay, and it's so easy for us to put the reptilian, this and that, but really it's things like that. And a lot of them incarnate just like you and I, and they're walking around in human form. No one wants to say that. And they're destroying this planet. They're doing all this crap you're having to remote view. This dark stuff because this place lives in fear and loose. This is just loose farm for all those cats, man.
It is.
And that's the thing. We think we're the top of the food chain. I was listening to you talking to Dennis the other day. We're definitely not. Not even a little bit. Energetically, we're the lowest on the totem pole here, and we're walking around asleep.
That's right. Anyways, and they're showing us all this in all of our movies, TV. They're even putting broadcasters in front of us on the local news stations who are glitching out and even hissing like reptilians, and their faces are morphing and shape-shifting. Barry, I promise I've seen things like this before on television, and I thought it was just the TV, the digital cable glitching out. That's what I thought. And I have never given this any kind of, I've literally kind of laughed it off when people said, "Oh, that's a reptilian glitching." But now I'm not so sure. I think that it could be that technology.
That all started with the Michael Jackson video where his eyes turned black. Remember that? That's where that started. People started looking for that after that. I can't remember what the name of that song. It's not the one where he was saying your butt is mine. It's another one. Yeah.
I'm bad. That's bad.
Yeah, it might be. It might be. But his eyes go black in there. It's very interesting. But going into that and amorphous metals, okay, the reason why I have an interest in this, all right, is that and it's weird that you're bringing this extra flavor to it, all right, and my brother just actually, I got one of my, every now and again I get lectured by those older than I, and my brother was telling me that on your show particularly I tend to say I don't mean to repeat myself. I'm gonna repeat myself. He said, man, it's different shows you're saying that, but it ties together. That's why it's repetition. He says, so quit saying that, quit worrying about that. And the truth is, since recovering from my traumatic brain injury, I used to trip out on, they said I would have no memory anymore and stuff like that. So I used to freak out. Am I repeating myself? I think it's
wonderful.
No more than normal people, but I had to make sure, you know what I mean? Tripped out, man. You don't take forward brain injuries and not be a little bit self-conscious,
I think you're doing excellent considering. Come on, Barry.
Thanks,
I think you're doing excellent. And I want to thank you for that too, because I do know that you and I connect a lot of dots. And one thing kind of, it's like everything's so connected. It's so connected. I repeat myself all the time too. I talk about some of the same things because I want to kind of drill it into the consciousness. Like, look, this is connected, y'all. Okay. I think it's connected. I'm not saying it's 100%. I think it's connected. Okay.
There's something going on. As my mama used to say, where there's smoke, there's fire somewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So this real quick, why I have an interest in this and how it kind of connects to my experiences. All right. Is this craft, I talked about it before, this morphing craft, UFO, and it started off, okay, this is an organic craft, but it started off metal. Okay, as you can see, it's metal. Then it went through this shape-shifting process. It goes from like that, then to this. Sorry, I should have that organized. I was too excited. And to that, then eventually to this. And this is the tri-pyramidal Merkaba, which is it would look like crystalline. Okay, for the most part. And I think that what it was doing was changing its pattern of configuration to meet the destiny. Meet the destination in another universe, probably one that's based on the crystalline instead of the spin like us and matter. And you've got other universes too, like amorphous metals that comes up. Okay, and why I'm bringing this up, everybody, is because look, when I'd be tripped out on this stuff, and during these experiences, since I wasn't being assaulted or abducted, really, I asked a bunch of questions, as many as I could get in my mind, as quick as I can, to get overflowed with answers and can't decipher it afterward. Anyway, I want to know what this thing was, what it's made of. Okay, and when I got the ships, a lot of these ships are 4 components. Okay, one is you've got amorphous metals that are mined from, as what they're putting in my mind was planets devoid of Van Allen belts and atmospheres. Mm-hmm. And no matter what nanospectrum the sun is on, those metals on that planet, those planets get bombarded like nothing else. And they're very, very resilient. Wow. Okay, that's combined with something else. And I think this ties into this also, what we would call a quasi-crystal component, which is more the crystals with odd lattices that are being grown more in labs right now. Quasi crystals. I think that's our future is definitely going that way. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other thing is the fungal component, the mycelium component. That's why the inside of the craft are slightly alive. That's part of that component. Okay. DNA from the crew is the 4th. Okay. All that is a compound that's grown in deep space or in space over a mako, over a black hole. That's why the engine itself is temporally displaced. Anyway, point being, the metal part is what I'm getting to here. And that takes us into what now our science has, metamaterials, the various metamaterials, which are mineral. And they've got, I've heard you talking before about not just those goggles, but some of the invisibility cloaks that they have. They're putting that stuff on tanks. They're using something with the quantum dots and using that to even make what would be a craft completely invisible. That's all these things we're getting to, the bending of light and things of that nature. Okay, so when dealing with something I haven't heard quite about the reptilian thing you brought to the table here, but I have heard about these type of uniforms that have like these crystalline face plates and or crystalline helmets, and what they do, they actually project a quantum hologram to people like us.
That may be what we're talking about today, actually.
I think so. And maybe even more, you're dealing with warriors, so maybe there's more of an iron metal component to this metamaterials that they're using. Anyway, food for thought. I'm gonna shut up now. I'm really totally too much here, but I think it's important to get that stuff out.
Oh my God, don't ever shut up. I love this because it all ties together here, because I don't know how any of this stuff works, but I have watched the Terminator. Okay. I've watched movies where they have examples of what we're talking about today. And first of all, Maureen, thank you for gifting all those memberships. Oh my gosh, she just
polydometic alloy. Yeah, that's what
he's the liquid alloy man. Okay, the robot. And that is wild. But Maureen, thank you for that. And also Long Island Bigfoot, thank you for being a member of the Hunt Club for 14 months. You're the best. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Okay.
Great session with Maureen. She's really cool.
Oh yeah, that's very sweet. Very sweet. I got pictures of the Terminator.
You know that takes us into what they call metallic glass right now. The video I just put up is dealing with that. Okay, and that's more or less what he was, a type of amorphous metal that would be metallic glass. Now look, everybody, you could go on Amazon and type in what I just said, okay, metallic glass. And you can get little samples of it, little test tubes of it, get samples of it, play with it. Yeah, just like ferromagnetic fluid. Okay, and I've seen somebody, there's that cat. Look, I don't care. I don't know nobody nothing. That's the one like the Rudolph, the tall white alien. I know somebody following him. This cat is dark. He's going up to sewers and holding up a recorder and saying, "You hear the sounds of hell." That you hear things screaming around these sewers he goes to, but he's tripped out. But he's got these
reptilians.
Well, I used to know somebody who's really into that cat. So anyway, but there's one video he has, and they said to me, "Oh, he's got black goo, and he said, "There's that black goo," and he's taking it, and he's moving it in the tube and stuff, and it's moving around. It looks all like it might be alive, and people are tripped out. Jessica Jones, that was ferromagnetic fluid that you can get off Amazon for magic tricks.
Really?
And people don't, if you don't do your research, like right now, I could tell you, hey, look, I have an implant. You see, I'm part of what's called the pencil lead crew that has got a pencil broken off in your hand and the lead's still in there. You can see it.
Oh, God.
I can tell people, hey, it's an implant. You know what I mean? And people would buy it. Hey, I was 30 years and back,
That's dangerous, that lead in your hand like that. I bet you also took your eraser and rubbed your skin off too, didn't you? I remember those days.
No, I actually worked at this bowling alley, and I was putting the pencils up, and I was a little pissed off, and I was trying to get out of there, and I threw them in there, and one of them popped back up, and it popped into my foot. I mean, it went deep. It hurt kind of.
Oh, and then man, that's your implant.
It broke. Yeah, but you can see it. And I was listening to NPR one day, it's like 30 years ago. And there's a guy saying, "Are you part of the lead, the pencil lead in your hand crew?" Yes, so. But we're gonna say it's an implant. Look, it sounds.
Yeah, it's an implant. It's a lead implant. Oh my gosh.
I've done that before. Pulled a joke on people and said that. And then, oh my God, I start saying weird stuff that's a total fabrication. I say, I'm just joking, man. What am I bad? My mom said a horrible sense of humor. So there you go.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Well, so on the Terminator, they use, this is like a shape-shifting metal, right? Shape-shifting metal, liquid shape-shifting metal where the robots can form into robots from a liquid metal. And then they can deform, right? I guess they go back to liquid form. It is really weird. But why would they even put that in a movie if they didn't already have that kind of technology at some point? Back then. Now it's out in the open. You can just do a quick search on DuckDuckGo or Google, and there's all sorts of information on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can find it everywhere. Okay, so. Let's see.
There's a company people can look up. It's called Liquid Metal Industries. Check them out. Check out their products. Liquid Metal Industries.
Okay. Well.
Anyway, I think that tying this into, although I'm sorry those pictures didn't come through, but
it's okay. It's my fault.
Like when dealing with, Facebook. I'm gonna let you say the name Credo Mutua Ed.
Lush? Just kidding.
No, that one guy's name.
Oh, the guy that we were just talking about, Lynn Caston.
No, David.
Oh, David Icke. David Icke.
Wikipedia. No, I'm just kidding. I was kidding. Wiki. I'm sorry. Okay. But looking at that illustration that they had done, and I advise people also. I know he comes up a lot, but Credo did a lot of stuff that were actually melanin dominant stuff, and like institutionally, he's done a lot of interviews that go beyond what he did with David, and honestly, even a little bit more in depth. But there's one they did, it's like 4 hours long. That one was good though. That was real good. Anyway, point being, I think that, that illustration shows the reptilian possessing somebody psychically through the sex chakras, actually, and projecting a quantum hologram into that person, actually.
Whoa.
Very, 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 very interesting. We start getting into that, but when dealing with this also, I think that it's taken it maybe, a step forward. And from that, to how it could be done physically even more, or how to imitate somebody. Sorry, copy somebody, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Imposter.
Clones.
Clone, doppelganger.
Put out like a holographic clone or something like that. I mean, where do holograms come into all this too? Because that's what it appears to be. Like, I'll actually show some, and this is a good question from Riley Ron. Says, who are they? Reptilians, secret cult, Illuminati, or some other entity? The more I get into this, I'm like, secret, I don't know. Like, I think there's a connection between reptilians and secret societies and stuff too. I'm just saying, I don't know. That's another rabbit hole, I guess. It's kind of the same rabbit hole, but it's also different. I think
it's probably maybe we talked about how classifications live on their own. Maybe it's all those put together. Yeah. We're dealing with evil, straight demonic, evil crap, man. And that's what's wrong with this place. I was saying earlier, really, when you start doing the work, especially regressional work, you see that really this place is a school. This place is a school more than a prison planet that I've always said. And look, I had to accept that because I've always said this is a prison planet full of lost souls. That's only partially true. It's really more of a school that you keep coming back again and again until you learn how to pass it. You know what I mean? And that's part of our creation. It's a trip. And so in that way, that's that. It's I had put it like I think a fool changes his opinion, the facts to fit his opinion. An intelligent person's changing his opinion to fit the facts. I'm trying to be the latter. You know what I mean? And some of the things about this being a prison planet, when I started doing the regression work, didn't hold up. I'm just saying, and I kept looking for it. I kept looking for it to hold up. You know what I mean? Looking for that. Oh, it's got to be some soul traps going on. It's got to be here. Everybody says it. Who's everybody? And I'm not coming up with that stuff. Start talking to other people doing the work. They're not getting it. Why not? This stuff needs to be taken seriously. You know what I mean? And looked at, really examined closely. Yeah. And the fact that you've got, some type of a hive mind that's giving people experiences. Because, I heard such and such touch about it, be like, oh, that happened to me. And you're actually reliving it. And then your dreams are getting altered. This is serious what's going on to people. And I'll tell you, I'm going to throw this out on here first. And I'm not going to ever say this again until I do my own live, all right? Okay. I have come across several times in regressions that SSP is the screen memory. Not the contact they've had, which may or may not be negative or positive. But the point is, this SSP thing that we've heard, the same stuff you heard people talking, has become brain entrainment that is used as a screen memory to match true contact experiences. I've experienced it 3 times now. And when I get to 4, I'll tell you personally. I'm just saying, I'm throwing this out, okay? Because there's a lot of people talking that aren't doing the work. They're not doing the stuff, so they don't know. You know? Yeah. And for the record, I don't do QHHT. It's too leading for me, okay? My personal style, I don't like. I've got my own style. I don't do QHHT. Just so everybody knows that. Not putting it down, but that's not my style. I've got a whole different way I was trained and things I've developed anyway. So I'm just throwing that out, okay? I know I'm going to get hated on for this. I know you've got a big crowd that is really into that SSP thing. I'm sorry, y'all. I just don't buy it all. It's something wrong. There's some psyop going on. Something's off. I'm not saying that some haven't had that experiences, but right now I've talked to probably over 200 people, Jessica, that have told me that they're SSP. They're super soldiers. That's a lot of people. The government can't do no better than that.
I don't know.
Taking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of kids out of school and taking them back in time 20 years and then not instead of the people they've got already there voluntary. I'm just asking,
I don't know. There's definitely some weird stuff going on. I mean, I've had my own experience with ETs in face to face. Okay. And I've, I just don't know at this point. I just don't know. I'm trying to figure everything out. And I think that just kind of shining some light on some things. And I can't wait to see, like, when you go live and talk about this. I'll be there in your chat.
Hey,
okay,
so
I'll be listening to it.
You've said before, you're kind of a mix, right? Positive and negative encounters with ETs. Is that right? Or
I've never had anything negative that I can remember. I mean, it just was indifferent. It was indifferent. It wasn't positive, and it wasn't negative.
What do you mean?
Well, it wasn't like I was scared or anything. I mean, I chase monsters in the woods, Barry, for fun. Okay, so when something shows up just standing there in my room, I'm not scared of it. I'm just confused. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't remember like being dragged out of my room or like hurt or anything like that. I don't have any memories of anything like that.
Did you get it? You remember getting like negative vibes off the being or anything like that? Or?
No. Just I was just confused.
Now, if you're suffering from, it's literally brain entrainment because you've seen hundreds of people talk about abductions. You've heard hundreds of people talk about anal probes and all this other stuff. I mean, you see how that could actually, we have free will and we do have the creative principle passes through us. So when an encounter like what you're talking about, we're strong enough to turn that into something and warp it with our thoughts into something negative. Mm-hmm. And that may not be what that being is at all. That being could be from the divine field. Who knows? Exactly. You know what I mean? But that's just something we have to be aware of, because the fear, real quick, that story with Credo Mudawa, the necklace of mysteries.
Oh yeah.
One of those holes. Mitch is gonna kill me, but I am repeating myself here. I gotta try not to. But yeah, okay, yeah, there it is. The necklace of mysteries. Oh, you can't see that piece. There's one piece on there is got these rocks in it. You can't see it on that one, but it's got these rocks in it, and he said that it was this woman that used to carry like water. She was dealt with water in the tribe, and one day she had something happen with like a reptilian. Okay, and then another day she is getting the water and coming back, and her child is playing with an extraterrestrial, a babe. They're both like very young children, and they're playing together. And she freaked out. Oh my God, my child's playing with a monster, and they're playing with these rocks that are glowing, and they're having the time of their life. They're just babies, kids. And she goes to go grab her kid and get away from this extraterrestrial monster, and the mother stops her. That grabs her, but then starts communicating telepathically. Said, "Hey, look, I know that your whole planet runs on fear, and you all live in fear, but just let them play. Just let them play." Mm-hmm. And when it was over, they both got their kids, and the mother told the woman, the human woman, say, "Keep those rocks. They're from my planet. And maybe one day when y'all are not living in fear so much, my people will come back, and it will begin with our children playing with each other like you're seeing now." I thought that was a great story, or legend, whatever you want to call it.
An alleged incident. Yeah, that is. And yet we are, from the time we're born, we are put into fight or flight mode, it seems like, with a lot of our surroundings, even from, and I mentioned earlier, this gentleman who wrote Project Serpo, the book about Project Serpo, Lynn Casson was saying in this interview that the reptilian empire, that's what he says, runs all the media, the banks, religion, entertainment, and our educational system. And their goal is to keep us in fear. Okay. To keep us dumbed down. This is our education systems. And I can't disagree with some of the music that's out there today. I'm just saying. I love music.
Okay. He was down with the PE though.
I'm just saying.
PE.
That was before I was awakened. I still love those guys. What's up, DJ?
Oh yeah, they're all right.
Okay.
First world security of the first world.
Yeah.
You know that's what the SW1 was, right?
Yeah.
You know, okay, no, I don't want to be wrong about this, but I think it's that gentleman and maybe in that book where he describes not just the galactic empire that is reptilian-like. I think it's much worse than that, honestly. But he also describes there being, I think it's being a prison planet in which people that are like basically like Jedis that are going against the galactic empire are wiped clean and sent to this, their soul memories are wiped clean and life memories, and they're sent to this prison planet. And on this prison planet, you've got also the faction that are like the worst, convict type also, okay? The negatives also, they're like your murderers and all those galactically. And you've got this prison planet that's populated with the criminogenic factor and also these Jedi types that are wiped clean, that are geniuses and artists and all these different things that are saving the place and bringing in the higher vibration. And that's supposedly Earth. That's another reason I thought after reading material like that, oh, this must be a prison planet. Because that guy said it, right? But I mean, it still didn't hold up. But in some ways, you know, I think that is what we have here, though. We have a situation where we all do get wiped clean coming in, that net that we've talked about that I couldn't believe you saw on the target on the brown dwarf, on the dwarf planets, the trans-Neptunian objects that you and I have been talking about for a long time, but nobody acknowledges that. Okay, no one was talking about that. I'm not gonna go into that. I don't go there. You know, I went through a little bit of getting bit by that bug was trying to bite me, but I got my off on, man. But I'll tell you, I was tired of nobody acknowledging anything we do. You know, we got all these targets, all this information. I don't like that. It kind of sucks. But I hear these people talking stuff that is they're selling wolf tickets, and people are just buying them like it ain't nothing, man. You know.
Oh my gosh. Hey, we've got a wonderful audience here, and everybody's listening. Okay, so I'm just over here having fun connecting dots. Okay?
Your audience.
I'm not looking for recognition. I don't care.
Your audience kicks ass. I'm not talking about your people.
Sure. I know what you mean.
But it's a shame that it's like not the majority of people that are into this type of thing to get information instead of just fantasy. But fantasy sells, and so does fear mongering. Fear mongering sells down here like nothing else, does it not? Yeah, and it's plenty to be scared of down here. So why not, dude?
It does. What did Vic? I think Vic Cundiff told me one day. He was like, I was like, why is it that, you know, all these like you do a show and it's like dog man attack, you know, family ripped to shreds, and like everybody watches it, and I'm like, you know, it's just that. It's that factor of like, he's like, well, everybody loves to watch a train wreck or something, is what he said, or a car accident or something. He said everybody likes to look at it. You know, it's like, ugh.
Man, you know, I thought that was a really good show. I know I listened to that whole show when it was live. I thought that was really good. And he brought that whole thing in, and I think nobody expected it. You know what I mean? That he brought in that he hadn't heard many of attacks, like what we hear all the time. Yeah. Real stories, you know. And
it sells, though. It sells. Yeah. Just like anything risque sells, okay, and that's kind of risque, I guess. But nonetheless, it kind of adds into that fear. Like, we're so programmed to live in fear, and that's why every single show I tell the audience, don't live in fear. If I'm out here chasing monsters, we got Javier in the chat. What's up, Javier? Cryptid 559. We're out there, and Bigfoot Dwarf. There's a lot of people in the chat right now that are out there chasing monsters, just like me, and we're fine. These are some of the happiest people I know too, y'all. Some of the nicest people. And we're not living in fear. None of us are. Okay. And I don't want you guys living in fear over anything, because that's how we raise the consciousness of each and every one of us and everybody around us. and we expose what's going on. Okay, we become keen to it, or like we just. I think that's the key. That's the key to it, according to this fella, the UFO researcher that wrote about Project Serpo, Mr. Lynn. Okay, so anyways, I don't know. There's things that's right in our faces all the time, Barry. In our faces all the time. When I turn on the news, like I said, let's go ahead and get to these shapeshifters on TV, okay? Because that's what I came here to show this today, but you have set it up and knocked it out of the park already. Because we're leading up to like, what is this? How does it even work? Could this be? I thought that these people on television it was just a low resolution. Okay, like I know when my internet's slow because my son started playing PS5 on the internet, and it slows everything down. And he hasn't been on it today because I had a show today, y'all. Okay, but it slows the internet down, and I become pixelated. I hate that. I hate being pixelated. Okay, I feel like I'm right out of Minecraft, if y'all know what that is. Sometimes. Okay. And so that's what I was thinking that was going on with these people in the news. You know what Minecraft is. Oh, first of all, we're talking about living in fear. Y'all remember this lady? That MFer over there is not real. Okay. She might have been next to a reptilian shapeshifter in the airplane. No, I don't know. Okay. I had to bring her up today. But you see stuff like this. People will be talking and they just be getting interviewed and whatever. I can't remember who that lady is. I've seen her before. And their faces start turning all weird. And, this guy right here looks like he's straight up turned into a daggum T-Rex on TV. I don't even know who that is. Okay. But,
I don't know about that picture, man. I don't know about that one.
I'm just saying. I know, right?
Technically, that would be. It could be just easy as opposed to being a physically changing. It could be the quantum hologram that they're picking up. That is glitching that they're picking up, opposed to it being actually physical transformation. I mean, it could be, but I think it's more something that the film is catching that has to do with that holographic nature. That that type of the possession. The Credo talked about a lot. For the record too, what I think he called the Greys like Mendingo, not Mandingo, but it's a similar word to that. He called the Reptilian like Chitari, and also another one. Anyway, he said that the Greys, for a long time, I tried to do studies because amongst the black contactees that I dealt with, and this is years before I ever came forward, all right, there was a popular conception that because we have melanin, we didn't get abducted by Greys. And also that we never were taking up in a blue or purple light because we didn't need to be decontaminated of bacteria before we go into the ship because we have melanin. It's some things that go on culturally between the different, things I want to try to prove it's real or not. I just want to know, But Credo blew that out of the water. He talked about many, many melanated people in Africa getting abducted by Greys. And when he used that word, whatever he called him, he said it means torturer of man. And he described them as being torturers and mutilators more than anything else because they enjoy that because they're able to run around here. And some of them don't just have on that suit, but they're from our future. And that's why he goes real deep on that. And he goes into his definite negative experience in one of these labs that you described the missing 411 people being in. And then he describes after that being disabled. When he's dropped off, whatever happened, he's completely discombobulated for like a couple of days and he has no clothes on. Or like clothes that like he's missing, like things what Pallades say that they found, like the shoes and things like that. It's very interesting when you listen to his account, and that's coming from a completely different melanin dominant culture. So anyway, I don't know what's.
Wow, that's fantastic. Barry, I just saw this. Like, I mean, I didn't even scroll down that far, and you are on here. Look at this. This is a DuckDuckGo search of shape-shifting reptilians on television, caught on camera. And this is a show that you and I did. Look, Shapeshifters, Skinwalkers, and Reptilians right here. down there with that. Look, there's your picture right there. You see where my cursor is?
Yeah.
That is so funny. We actually made the cut, man. We're right here. This is our show from a long time ago. Oh my God. I'm so proud of us. Look at that. We made the cut. We're like, I mean, you just barely have to scroll down and it's us. It's a picture of Barry Littleton right here on the Shapeshifters.
I believe that might be the one we talked about some of the positive aspects of them. I mean, like I said, I'm not pro reptilian, but we got to look at all aspects, and it's a shame we don't hear about the ones that might be more positive. What do they do? Where are they from? What do they represent? We don't hear about stuff like that,
We don't. Well, I'm just kind of scrolling through here because I didn't get a whole bunch of pictures uploaded. So I thought, let's just show some of these. And I know it just seems kind of, it may seem kind of wacky to some people. Okay. And I understand that. It's wacky to me. Okay. It's wacky to me big time.
Hey.
But what if, okay. And we're talking about what this is. Okay. Now I went down this like I said, I went down a rabbit hole. Big time rabbit hole. And I found some information. This gentleman was being interviewed talking about liquid crystal masks. Okay, liquid crystals. Now we've talked about the liquid metal. We've talked a little bit about the liquid crystals and the crystalline masks, things like that. Well, this one guy I was listening to, and I couldn't find his name. I don't even know who he was, but he was talking about how many celebrities are caught shape-shifting on camera, and it's because of these masks. And it's some sort of advanced nanotechnology. Okay, nanotechnology. And let's see, I know this is kind of weird right there, that picture, but he said that sometimes the masks start glitching out. Okay, and they use advanced technology, nanotechnology, to mimic the structure of human skin. Okay, so I want to say it's like a hologram almost. Okay, like I want to say it's kind of like a hologram, but he was showing examples of like masks, like actual rubber, like rubber masks that people were wearing, but it wasn't rubber. It was this crystalline material, is what he was saying. He said there's 5 important elements for these masks, Barry. Okay, I'm gonna go down the list. There's 5. He said biometric nanomaterials for the skin structure. That's 1. Number 2 is the skin function. I wonder if they sweat. That's my question. Do they sweat? Do they get blemishes and pimples? Probably not. He said, okay, so skin function, and then we got elastic nanomaterials to age for the aging effect. So maybe they play the long game here. Okay, they play the long game, and they gotta age. Okay, because we watch them grow up throughout the years on television. He said the 4th one is the dynamic skin pigmentation for the colors. So there's some kind of skin pigmentation that they've got to get that right too. Okay. And he said regeneration, recovering capacity. So like if somebody gets hurt, it needs to be able to regenerate as well. Okay. Like any kind of scarring and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know.
So self-repairing.
Yeah. Self-repairing. That would be like the Terminator, right?
You remember, didn't you and I talk about the fact that, I'm sorry, give that as he's one of those blind targets, the Jonathan Reed case and the obelisk and the creature he dealt with. Remember that one? The black obelisk. It was like
yes, I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that.
And he put the guy in the refrigerator, the alien.
Oh, was it Jeremy somebody?
His name's Jonathan Reed.
Jonathan, that's right. Jonathan, sorry.
Jonathan Reed, supposedly.
Yeah.
He talks to a friend of mine, Soretta, quite a bit. I think they're friends. But he described when he had that suit, that thing, how he tried to take a sample of it, and it was self-repairing. He couldn't get a sample of it. And then after this being regenerated or whatever, and even after it told him that it didn't try to attack his dog. He said, but the dog came up barking, and the suit is self-defensive and took it as a threat and attacked it. You see, and I mean that, and one thing about his deal, he took a lot of heat, and I don't believe people say that's fake. But I'll tell you, that won the ship, I thought was fairly a good deal, and what he was saying and the representation of it as something that looked more like a time fisher to me than even a physical craft, actually. Anyway, that's my opinion. But that self-repairing and self-healing suit,
I remember that.
Self-activating suit, that's very, very interesting. The first time you started hearing stuff like that. And I know because, God, I don't have the picture right here. I've got the picture of those Andromedans I've showed you that had the blue suits on with the blue stripes. They were putting in my mind that those suits were symbiotic in connection with the craft. Okay, I think specifically that the blue stripes that would look like racing stripes on them, that's taken us into really a different type of fiber optics. I mean, even more advanced than what we have now by far.
Oh my gosh.
When dealing with what you just said, this gentleman that said these components, that needs to be taken a step forward. Okay, like scientists, they need to see what is the mathematical computation to make this stuff. If he can go that far with it, someone's got that on a board somewhere. You know, it brings to me, because, you know, I Spirit often shows me stuff as people are talking or something. It took me years to realize that that's what was going on. But like where you were talking, I'm getting flashes of what's the old TV show was called The Sarah Connor Chronicles. And it was the Terminator actually TV show that lasted like maybe 2 seasons. And it was really, really well done. It's supposed to be the time between Terminator 1 and 2. It's supposed to be, or just after Terminator 2. It's supposed to be in that time period. But the thing, what comes to mind is one of the Terminators that came to get him got blown apart by a quantum device and lost its skin. And it couldn't walk around. It had to get like it lost its head too. It took somebody else's head and it put on like some coats and stuff like Highlander. It's walking around like that. But it went and took all this blood and hemoglobin from the blood bank. And then it cornered the scientist who was actually developing the skin for the cyborgs. And when he walks in, this thing is sitting up there, and he's done this robot in this drag, or in this, it's Highlander looking, wrote all the actual scientific deal up there that completes to make the stuff work. And they're actually scientists that have been looking at that, saying that that's very real. The stuff they have on the board up there, it's way advanced, real. Okay, that's in real life. Yeah, and so I'm just saying it needs to go a step forward. What you're talking about, that needs to be put on a board somewhere, and we need to see more of that, because it's describing some type of a almost quasi-crystal type of material that's used for this as well, for syntheticing human flesh. Very interesting.
Shape-shifting materials.
Even further to just bending light, but incorporating that as well. You know, and that the quantum hologram, how to fit it to the face, and all these things. That's very, very interesting.
It is.
You know, as you remember, the metal Terminators, the liquid metals, they could look like anything once they made contact with it.
They could look like humans.
Anyway, any person, or like the one looked like the floor. Remember?
Oh, the floor. Yeah.
Remember the cop? He put the finger through the eye. The old finger through the eye. Yeah, that was well, the cat's drinking some milk or something, or one of those scenes, man. I mean, yeah, he was a pretty murderous cat, man. You know, I thought that guy played the hell out of that role. He's all dried up.
They're just showing us. They're showing us reality. Like what could be real? What is real? This is soft disclosure, right? Like these movies have been putting it in our faces for decades.
Man, what somebody in your chat will know, is it Terminator? Is it Genesis? The one with the lady, the girl. She's like polynomadic, and she's also part metal too. And he slams it through the toilet. Bam! That one. That's a good one. And the last one, I think, is Terminator Genesis, that the cat is part metal and he's got an endoskeleton also. He turns into 2.
Whoa.
He'll turn into, the metal will come after you, and into the other one's driving the truck, man. The liquid metal will go after you. I thought that was really taking it to the next level there. Somebody in the chat will know. Is that Terminator Genesis? I don't want to get it wrong. But anyway, not a great movie, but the special effects are out of control. And Linda Hamilton and Schwarzenegger were in it. They're like 80, so it's good to see them get one last run. You know,
How many movies do they make of that? That's there was a bunch. Andrew says the Terminator Dark Fate. That's what Andrew says.
Is that that's the last one, right? With the double guy. He's got he's like a Hispanic cop. He falls through the sky. That special effects were out of control on that one. And the concept wise, I was just listening to Sophia Stewart talking again, and it was a big deal that she said that they stole the Matrix and the Terminator from her. These books that she made in 1977. She wrote. She said, but I'd done that interview with her with somebody else, and she was saying that how John Connor was actually Neo. And really, she turned that whole thing biblical, saying that in reality that John Connor was fighting as Neo in cyberspace, but that John Connor, JC, is really supposed to be the word, I probably shouldn't say it because it'll get you in trouble, but Yeshua Christ is supposed to, that's with JC, and that's who he's supposed to be, born of a woman, okay? And dealing with that situation and as Neo in the other side, that really is supposed to be JC that's freeing us from the cyber domination. Kind of interesting. She says that was her whole theory on it. They just stole everything from her. But somebody else say they stole it, and I don't know. I don't get into all that.
I actually had Tom Althouse on my show at Spaced Out Radio, and he claims that he is the original writer of that whole ordeal, and that she even took the idea from him, is what he says. And so it's pretty wild. He's going to be down at the Full Disclosure Now conference.
I'll let those two battle it out.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
right?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, she went really far with it, and that guy better go deep with it because she went really deep with the whole contrast of it and everything. I was like, whoa. I mean, because I was sitting up there, and when she started, she was talking, she was answering my question. I was like, well, I mean, kind of blew out. The question wasn't that deep.
Well, I'm glad that they showed the problem and then they give us the solution. Okay, that's important. Okay, if that's it, show us what's happening, show us the problem, show us how we got here, and then show us how we can fix it in the future.
What's the solution?
Hackers are the answer. Hackers. I guess. I don't know. Isn't Neo a hacker? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Raising the consciousness. It's a higher consciousness.
That's true, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Hacker is hackers. Listen, we're getting the solutions right now. We got hackers. We got raising our consciousness. Okay, and connecting to source. Okay, like having that higher consciousness and connecting to the divine. Okay, that's the answer right there.
When looking at that, I did a video. It's that SSP and mind control. And gosh, I should remember every single word. But there's a world. It's an organization that's trying to put a brain on Google and put it into an Android.
Ooh.
They're trying to make a brain for Google. If you look at that, anybody look at that video, go to my channel, YouTube channel, go to Negative Inorganic Beings, and go to SSP and Mind Control. It's one of the longest videos I did. It's like 45 minutes. The guy that did my videos wanted to kill me. Yeah, but it was but it was necessary to be that long. But in that, I'd show you what organization that is that's actually trying to put a brain, Google, a physical brain, into Google as a physical brain for an Android of some type, advanced Android of some type. I mean, that's Skynet stuff right there.
Yeah, it is.
And technically, I think Skynet was supposed to be a virus, they said in the end, right? I think.
A virus? I don't know.
I think it's a Chronicles, Sarah Connor Chronicles. That TV show, they started showing the drones. Remember the drones that Chad Dragonfly drones you and I've talked about? They were showing that in that old series, and that stuff had just come out. And on that Chad Dragonfly, something interesting that supposedly came from Carrot, the Carrot Institution in Silicon Valley. It's got those self-activating symbols on it and self-repairing symbols on it.
Oh,
there's a box on there. I did a video on that too. It's called From Dragonfly Drones to Black-Eyed Children. It's probably in that section too of Negative Inorganic Beings. But check out those symbols, and then check out some of the symbols they say that were activating Roswell and the Roswell material. And it's talking about amorphous metals. The original amorphous metals that were supposed to be from Roswell were supposed to be like that. And you and I met a gentleman. He's a super tall Caucasian dude with the red beard, man, named Robert Orsi. You remember he was drafted?
Yes.
I talked to him for a long time at that after party. And he said that he was, I can't speak that man's testimony, but he had the crash, like he was like on Roswell or something. In his backyard, there was a crash like that. It might have been either Socorro or Roswell, but he talks about actually he held some of that material and how it bounced back. He talks about it, and he's talking about that's that amorphous metals right there. Then suddenly it just became a weather balloon, though, that they're making fun of. But
of course, it's just a weather balloon. Here we go. I'm going to show some pictures to the audience. Yeah, this is the metal from the Roswell crash right there. Well, they said that the first time I think they were showing the metals, and they said it was a weather balloon, right? So that's what you were referring to right there. Yeah. Very interesting stuff. I mean, all this is connected. Okay. It's all connected, y'all. To
give him props, the guy's name it's Robert Orsi. It's spelled Orasi. You can find him probably on YouTube and on Facebook. He's trying to get his information out, but it seems like a lot of people haven't heard it, and I think he kind of gets sequestered. Real nice guy, though. Real nice guy.
Oh, yeah. I'm just showing some pictures of that material right there. Okay. So that's what we're referring to. Wow. This is deep. This is a way deeper show than I was expecting today, actually.
Well, that's cool. I didn't think I could bring much to the table on this one, so that's cool.
You have, though. No, you have. It's pretty fantastic that you've already done the research on all this stuff. And you have the movie knowledge as well. I can really appreciate that. Because I don't really know a whole lot about the Terminator movies. I do remember watching them. I remember watching the first one, but you've got the knowledge on that.
The first two were the best, kind of like Superman 1 and 2. Then after that, they kind of degraded. Like Superman 3 sucked. Superman 4, let's not even talk about that. That was an insult to Christopher Reeve. And Superman 3 was more like the Richard Pryor comedy relief, which I guess that's all right or whatever. But Superman 1 and 2 were good movies. Terminator 1 and 2 were really good. Terminator 3, good effects, but the other ones, Sarah Chronicles. You can look up YouTube. Anybody in the audience, you can Google on YouTube, look up Sarah Chronicles. Somebody's uploaded for free almost all of them. There's only like probably 10 or 12 of them. So.
Oh, Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot. Thank you for being here. He says, Terminator 1984, Skynet, an artificial intelligence sends a T-800 back in time to unalive Sarah Connor before she can father John Connor, the future leader of the human resistance against Skynet. That is the Matrix.
You know what the best part of that is, though?
Yeah.
Skynet was created by a melanin-dominant man. Joe Morton from Eureka, also the brother from Another Planet. I'm probably going to do a live over that movie one day. Do a review over that movie. The brother from Another Planet. And what is it? In Terminator, was the second one, Terminator 2, you remember he's Miles Dyson. He's holding the thing. Bam!
What?
That's how he blew up Cyberdyne. That was the whole thing. Remember?
Oh.
He took him in there to try to get. That was good because they went back. The whole thing from the first Terminator. Remember how she destroyed it? Even you remember that one, Jessica. She said, "You're terminated, effer," and she hit the button and it squashed it, but the arm was still trying to grab her. Cyberdyne took that arm, and there was what component? Silicone. There's chips in it, and he told him. He said there was more radical advance than anything we'd ever seen. It took us ways we would never have gone before. So in a way, that kind of takes you back to the. I thought that's pretty cool. They incorporated that because that facility where she squashed that Terminator was Cyberdyne.
Whoa! So what do they do? Like reverse engineer it and stuff? Like
yeah. From something from the future. Stuff like that is kind of that's good writing in my opinion.
Yes, it is. And there's also like it's almost like a time travel aspect as well, and all this too. And gosh.
You know,
I
I
don't
think
know.
there's a big time traveling to all this and to where we're going as a society right now. And we've talked a lot about, and I emphasize a lot, the private sector and the transparency of time control technology. It's not there, and nobody really cares about it until something comes into either the medical system or especially the home life that deals with time control of some type. Then people start noticing it, you know,
Yeah.
or things like with the natural drag frame of Earth. For those of us that don't think Earth is flat and understand a little bit of science and what's called inertial drag frame that only comes from somewhat spherical objects, you know, that actually creates what's called closed time-like curves within it. Gives you the ability to go backwards and forwards in time, almost like a time bubble. That type of science start studying real-time science and not just the fantasy stuff people talk about. I know Montauk is cool and Project Looking Glass, all that's cool, but really getting into the real science of it, you know, and what backs that up.
Mm-hmm.
And where we're really going and what's more realistic right now. Very interesting. And I myself have seen something that I would say is micro, the viewing system. Sorry, I'm talking too much here. The viewing system that looks back at past. You can look into the
You're talking about
past.
Project Looking Glass or the Chronovisor?
Chronovisor. Thank you, Chronovisor. Mm-hmm. I've seen something that is similar on board that craft that I think with this time commissioner cats. I've showed that picture before. It's got, because at first that was a metal wall. It looked like it was metal, and the cat went like that, and boom, I could see down everything, the tower, the water tower, everything. And it almost looked like I was going to fall out of it, like it was almost to where my feet should have been. See, I start picking up then, you know, you don't have no body. You know what I mean? You've been bilocated during this deal, but that's not the point. But what I saw there was a perfect way for historians to record time and event without interfering. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Man.
So, but that also I think is the premises of the Chronovisor.
Yeah, which is hidden allegedly under the Vatican somewhere. I mean, if they only have surely they have more than one Chronovisor, wouldn't you think?
Oh, I'm sure they could replicate it by now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, probably
supposed to be old technology
by now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and some of these things are conscious. They're conscious technology, and that's something that's hidden from us a lot. You know, even those Dyson and goggles you talked about, those are a type of conscious deal.
Interdimensional viewing technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which has to start consciously. And when we experience another reality or beings that are non-human, it comes like we interpret it. Our interpret system is dreamlike. We start interpreting dreamlike. That's why not to be hard on people that say they have dreams and think that's contact, because it's so intermingled that it's unreal. You know?
Yeah.
Because for a long time I was like, I'm Mr. Physical Experiencer, and I only wanted to count the ones that are physical, but I didn't want to acknowledge how much of it is also a conscious event, and how many people have conscious events as contact experiences, and that's preferable to what I went through. No sickness, no dizziness, no worrying about, hey, do I got some sort of weird bacteria on me? Some sort of weird fungus on me? I've been in seriously, I've been in a fungus environment. That's not even probably earth fungus. So, what if we get athlete's foot? What if it goes through my shoes? You know, stuff like that. You know, who knows, man? You know.
Yeah, get a little alien funk.
Well, remember what took out War of the Worlds? Remember what took them out?
Bacteria?
Yeah, got them. They were impervious to everything till they came out of those ships snooping around, and they got jacked. It went down hard, man. And that takes us into that whole microbial aura, or microbial cloud of humans that projects 34 inches from our body and projects 1 million particles of byproducts per hour.
Ew, especially when you're coughing, like I've been coughing for the past 3 weeks now.
Well, what's trip
kinda
is they're
gross.
finding scientifically that some of the DNA still stays alive for so many hours outside of our body.
Just floating around us.
So you got DNA and stuff floating all around us all the
Oh
time.
man, I just need
And
to
you know,
stay
when
home.
dealing with that thing I was talking
Stay
about, the
home.
isostasis, it deals with that and how to actually turn that into the Lytic cycle and to, you know, turn ourselves into to escape some of the death process of loss of memory. Quite interesting
Wow,
things to deal with, you know?
that is super interesting, man.
Well, that's what the Pharaohs were doing, was trying to actually activate the junk DNA. And the junk DNA is, you have something that is bacterial and viral. And when you say that, you think, ooh, viral. But really, when you start dealing with the bacterial, you have bacterial phages. And they're positive bacteria that kill negative bacteria. But they also have this lytic cycle of life. And they can have lytic or lysogenic. And I said before, lytic is like when a virus actually injects its code, its RNA into a cell, that cell starts bursting with that replication. Okay, that's lytic. As to where lysogenic is when it makes that injection, but it goes dormant and lays dormant in the cell. It doesn't reproduce the same. So lysogenic for our DNA is when we start returning to the Earth cycle and lose our life memories. As to where we have this lambda phage in our DNA, it's called lambda phage. Okay, and what it does, it's what's bioluminescent in terms of if it's exposed to UV light, it begins emitting light also. Bioluminescent bacteria, yeah. So and in that way, it's also can become lytic. And they're saying that when that happens, and it does that with our cells, it actually energizes our cells into the lytic cycle. And that's how that's what the Pharaohs were doing with the mummification.
Really?
They were trying to give the body time enough for that lambda phage
Simmer
to
down.
become lytic. Yeah.
Simmer down.
And that's interesting. That's interesting because I think, you know, and I mentioned before, you know, just when we talk about healing the earth, Jessica, you know, people don't listen to what I say, or I get put down for it. I talked this 9 years ago now. I was talking about the deep biosphere of the earth, and how that's really the inner earth we need to be talking about. The deep biosphere contains 99% of Earth's undiscovered bacteria. And when you start doing the bacteria of our junk DNA, what kind of lambda phages are in the Earth deep biosphere? We don't even know. So is the trick to expose the deep biosphere to large amounts of UV light to help the Earth regenerate? Because it'll kick that phages into the lytic system that I just talked about of life. Hey.
Oh my gosh. Well, people with that kind of knowledge, which I would say that, I mean, I'm not going to say that secret knowledge or anything like that, but I mean, it's just not, it's not mainstream. Like I don't never heard anybody talk about this before personally, but I'm not a scientist. Okay. Of course.
Me neither. I like
for
science.
Entertainment purposes only, but I like science. I also like Daryl Bean. What's up, Daryl? My buddy Daryl's in here. What's up? He's my Atlanta friend. One of my long time friends. Love you, buddy. Thank you for being here.
Man, I can't wait to tell my friends that you hung out with Dominique Wilkins. I thought it was cool that you knew the boss man, but that you hung out with Dominique Wilkins, that takes it to another level. Those makes you a superhero like that other Jessica Jones, man.
I've hung out with a lot of the basketball players and stuff for sure.
Did you hang out with Spud Webb?
No, never met him. No, never met him. Oh my God, you're so silly.
How about Maurice Cheeks? Those are Maurice Cheeks fan. That's probably before your day, actually. It was before your day, probably.
Oh my gosh, that was before my days for sure. It was, but you know, I'm not saying it's like secret knowledge or anything like that, but just think about like if, and I'm going to say this is a theoretical question, if we are living in a prison planet, it is run by at this moment in time, there is an attempted or a long time kind of takeover of the reptilian empire. And we are getting bombarded with fear tactics. We're getting bombarded with chemicals. We're getting bombarded with chemicals in the sky, raining down upon us in our medicines, let's just say. Okay, with our children and our clothing, the dyes in our clothes, everything is here to hurt us and to keep us dumbed down, to keep our IQs lower, and to not connect with the divine in the divine field. And even they said even the religions. This is what this man said. Project Serpo. Religions have been taken over by the reptilian empire as well, is what he said. Okay. What they with that knowledge, Barry? I'm just saying, with that knowledge, well, I mean, why wouldn't they take what you just said and like skew it?
Remember what I've told you? Here I go again. I was going to say, I don't want to repeat myself, but I got to do it. Hold on, brother's not watching. He's going to kill me. Anyway. Okay. So, okay. So let's see. I got too excited there. Remember, I've talked about this before. What some of the earthbound spirits have told me. Like one told me, they said if I listened to you, I was going to go to the pit, or if I don't hurt this person and cause problems, I'm going to go to the pit. And I'll be like, who told you that? And they'll be like, the others that are in this body, but they left before you got here. But they said they'll be back because they're not going to do the protections, and they'll just come back. Okay. Yeah. So what's the pit? And they say, we don't, it's same normal answers. Don't know. But they say it's worse than here. It's darker and it hurts.
Like hell?
And that right there is when I knew immediately. These inorganic, invisible beings know our religion and gave them to us, most likely, especially our concept of hell. And I've had a number of earthbound spirits tell me, hey, man, I'm not going to that light because I hurt people or I killed somebody. And I think I'm going to go in that light and I'm going to burn.
Oh, wow.
And, just so that
like
concept of hell is very powerful. And to my understanding, that's not what actually happens in the light. I can tell you everything that happens, but going in there and shoveling sulfur into a lake of acid, why pig-looking demon sticks you in the butt with a pitchfork.
Oh, God.
That's the concept of hell, right? And we know that hell is below the pit, down below. Hell is always resulted as being down below. You know what I mean? And so it's just food for thought on that a lot. But how they control a lot of our religions and probably gave a lot of them to us. Our concepts of good and evil. It's kind of creepy. Man. But they had to keep us as food. If they didn't do that, we couldn't be good food.
This is all for entertainment purposes, y'all. Okay, it's all for entertainment purposes. I just got to state that it is. Just keep an open mind, y'all. I'm just saying, it doesn't mean we're right. Just keep an open mind about what Barry's talking about, y'all. Yeah.
And if you ain't studied it or done the work, how would you even know?
Oh my God.
You'd be one of the pretenders, though. I know people come to me to act like they've done the work, and I can talk to them and tell they've not. They'll talk it. They've not done it. Or there's somebody that's doing Reiki work and they're giving people attachments. They got dead people all over them, demonic all over them, but they're doing work on other people.
Oh, oh my God.
Entertainment purposes only, folks.
It's for entertainment purposes only. The opinions of my co-hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect my opinions.
Oh, come on. Let me get you some hot water. Come on to this hot water, Jessica. Come on in here. Come on in here.
I will not. I don't consent, Barry.
Well, that's what's fun working with you, though, because we don't have the same opinion on everything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's cool because we have a healthy balance. It's not a battle or a war of who's right or wrong. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Exactly. We're just out here I'm having fun. I love discussions. Excuse me. And also, thank you so much, Kent. Kent Baxter says, my number one on my bucket list is to sit down with you and Barry in person and shoot the breeze for an entire day. Got to go. See you later. We'll make that happen one day, hopefully. I'm sure Barry and I will
you'd be bored somewhere. Quick, bro. You'd be like, oh, God, get away.
That's so sweet. Yeah. I appreciate that, Kent. No, that would be fun. Kent's got some really interesting information. I see your comments and stuff in here, Kent. Thank you so much for that super sticker. We really do appreciate you.
Your whole chat does. A bunch of geniuses. You know what I mean? With their own experiences. And that's what's cool is that, it's, and things like this, and like I mentioned before, the conference is like, if I were to do one, it'd be all about the attendees sharing with the speakers. Everybody wants to be heard right now, and it's important. That's how we tie this stuff together. That's why you and I are two of those weird people that spend all the time at those conferences trying to talk to as many people as we can. That's what it's all about. It's not about speaking. You know, it's about meeting the people and to actually have an environment where there's like, as opposed to you sound like a weirdo. Or, oh, that guy believes in Bigfoot, or oh, they saw some UFOs, or whatever the case is, or oh, they believe in Loch Ness monster. I'm sure that'll come up next.
I do. I believe in all of it. I just believe in everything now. I don't know. You know what? I got my eye out for all these news reporters. Why is it the news reporters that are crystallizing on film, like crystallizing on video, and like showing themselves? I mean, it's just weird. It's almost like a frequency thing. Oh, let me tell you. Okay, so I forgot to mention this. The man that was being interviewed, that I don't know who he was. I don't know his name. I don't even know where it came from, right? But it's something I saw on social media, and it all resonated when this guy was talking about these advanced nanotechnology masks. Okay, he said that the way that they start glitching, take a wild guess why they start glitching out.
Radiation.
Radiation could be one of them. He didn't mention that, but radiation, he said the lighting can make them glitch. The temperature can make them glitch. Okay, so like cold to hot, maybe they get too hot, they start glitching. Or emotion. The emotion makes them glitch. Now, I did reference earlier when we first started the show, I said there's newscasters, they're hissing on camera and stuff. There is a video. I'll try to find it after the show and I'll put it on my stories on Instagram. Okay. And there's a newscaster, and he's got this man sitting at the newscasting desk beside him. And he said something he didn't like. And the guy looks over at him and goes, he straight up made this weird, like lizard looking face. And he literally hissed at the guy. And I was like, that's not normal. Normal humans don't hiss. Okay. I don't think so. Unless you're like demonically possessed. Maybe they're possessed. I mean, and where's the line between a demon and whatever we're talking about today, aliens. Some people think demons and aliens are the same. It's all about the perspective.
I've done a video. It's called Alien Mind Scans and also telepathic hypnosis. And what that is actually them demon masquerading as alien. And the same way that keeps us looking out here, the same way that the Cryptoterrestrials do. Okay, keep us looking to outer space opposed to right here. Like Credo Muda was saying, those grays are from here. They're from our future. And that's why they enjoy tormenting people. And they take place. And he says no emotions from them except for some type of weird pleasure when they were torturing him.
Golly.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then that takes us into this missing 401. I mean, I'm not kidding, Jessica. If I were to let you listen to that interview or whatever, when he describes, and it's not the one with David Blank, it's another one, but he goes really deep into that abduction, and you would be shocked how much it mirrors missing 411. And that interview was done back in the 90s. Whoa. Okay, way before David ever came forward, probably 80s. Really? Yeah, it tripped me out. I'm saying like, whoa. And it'd be another thing if we hadn't done the blind target or we're missing 411 that nobody talks about. Anyway, exactly. You nailed that one to the wall, man. That was a great. That
one wore me out.
Yeah, I know I was being pushy on that one, but it was necessary. It was necessary.
It was all worth it. It was all worth it.
Yeah, but what you were describing is exactly what Credo was talking about. And he wasn't describing it even as a ship as much as some type of a lab. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he kept saying
how we described it.
It was Earth-based.
Yeah, under the ground. You remember I said, you kept asking me like the first time, you're like, well, what is this? I said, well, I think I was like under the Vatican or the Smithsonian or something. And I was like, it's something there's a lot of important stuff down there, but it's guarded like Fort Knox. You can't get in there.
And submarine tunnels can get to it.
Submarines there were tunnels with submarines and all sorts of weird stuff.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
man.
That was a great one. Yeah.
I honestly didn't know what you were going to get out of it. You know what I mean? I know what you can get out of that target. Because it's, wow. And it was looked at in several different ways on different coordinates a couple of times. So that is like, the data is the data. Mm-hmm. It is what it is. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But it goes back, though, to the demonic faction doing that. Whether they're from the future, the past, both current, I think it's all these things, you know, and it's too bad it's happening to so many people right now.
It is. I mean, thousands of people go missing in those national parks.
It's not like David Pauletti's news of it is making it stop. You know what I mean? He's trying, but we're locator beacon and all that. But I mean, wow, it's
brazen because it's just they're disappearing into thin air. Basically, is what it seems like.
You know, something I want to throw in real quick with the mask too. I'm sorry I keep getting too excited playing around with you, but when dealing with that nanotechnology and stuff, I ask everybody to also check out not just the nanobots, but check out xenobots. Xenobots are even a little smaller than just nanobots, and they're capable of more. Check out xenobots, and I think that's going to be one of the ways our future is going right now, especially when it comes to like what xenobots might be able to do 3D printing. And you know what you were seeing essentially like with the Moe, where that they were being 3D printed from another dimension. And that's how a lot of how those pyramids are made too. And they're starting to figure that out, I think, you know, between that and the use of the sound levitational technology.
Have you seen that video? I've sent it to you, but I don't know if you check your Instagram. A video of a Moai, one of those statues moving by itself. It has like the sticks tied to it. Is that real?
On the pot. It looks like
chopsticks.
It looks like or maybe popsicles, popsicle sticks. Yeah,
I know. It had to be like a scaled down version or something.
That's all, man. I mean, it was.
I thought that was hilarious, but I mean, it could be kind of how they move. I mean, I don't know.
What you know what reminded me of? It was that. Was it Monster Quest? Where they got all the people pulling it, so it's wobbling like that's how they moved right there. They was moving by itself all the way across the island, you know.
Well, it just has to get the velocity going, like the momentum. You know, it's like it starts rocking and then it starts moving and then the sticks go down and then it starts. It just looked cool. I don't know. I'm sure people in the audience.
Let's take this. Okay, they're on me. I'm supposed to mention it. I'm picking stuff up, so I shall obey. No, I'm just kidding. I'll agree. But you know, when dealing with the Moe and also these crystalline masks and these things, the Moe, remember that it brought us to that they're actually the Moe that they're those cyborgs that they're making now that I brought up before that actually are mushroom based. Okay, the mushroom brain of that they're also making these this mycelium for a type of skin for these robots also.
Oh,
okay. And you know, and that takes us, I've mentioned before, they're trying to develop a fungal based mycelium based radiation shield for the International Space Station. Okay, so a type of self-healing, self-regenerating shielding that is based on mycelium fungal component. That can be looked up. That's not just me talking weird stuff. Look it up. Yeah, anybody.
Oh my God.
I'm saying, but that takes us, you know, when dealing with what kind of material could cause one of these what do you call it? Holographic images. That could be also one too, beside just crystalline, quasi-crystal, or amorphous metals. It could also be a type of fungal component. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, a mushroom-faced robot. That is wild. Yeah. Well, that's like what some of those UFOs are made out of, right? Mycelium or like the fungus mushroom type material.
That's part of
their living craft.
It was inside touching it. I kept wondering why, and it felt like, you know, if you touch it, you froze up. If you touch a like a toadstool, where I'm from, they're kind of slimy though. But the inside of this craft, had a more hard consistency to it. You know, honestly, to me, for some reason, it kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's just, it was just more solid, more consistent than any toadstool or mushroom I've touched. Okay. And I know that's part of the component that they have that they incorporated, but nonetheless, living nonetheless. And, you know, and like I said before to people, I very much underestimated how sentient the craft I was on board were. You know what I mean? You think that maybe they're just conscious like the way a microorganism is or something like that. But no, this thing is conscious on the soul level. And, you know, I wonder, like, why am I be allowed to just move around on this ship? Move around, and although I'm not much of a threat because I'm about to puke, can't hardly move. But I mean, but still, why am I not being escorted or anything? Some of the crew members that are communicating with me, I can't even see. They're beyond my vision capacity. They're not fully phased in or whatever it is. Okay, so I wonder, but for me, it's like a field trip, asking a bunch of questions. I wondered why I'm not being escorted, but that ship knows me. And I think more than that, I think it knows me on the soul memory level. We don't know how old these things are. They're space organisms. They may be millions of years old, have seen us in different incarnations, and have retained that memory of us. The same way animals here, I think, retain race memory. Sasquatch retains race memory. I think the ships are beyond that. Beyond race memory, I think it's soul memory.
Wow. That's deep.
I can only speak from my experiences, not everybody else. Let me speak from mine.
Yeah. That is super deep and amazing. And that makes all the sense. It does make sense. I mean, we don't know how old we are, our souls. How many times have we been here? I don't know. I feel like I've been here a million times.
Yeah, everybody
probably
knows
doing the same thing. Probably me and you have been cutting up for lifetimes. Okay. Teaching people stuff.
Well, yeah, I've been here a couple of times, you know, some of the people, it's interesting because some of the people I've had issues with in a past life are coming up now, and they're not good people, and they're in these communities. They got platforms. I won't say no more than that, but I've met these people in other lives. They weren't good people then. They're not good people now. You know what I mean? Anyway, point being, he just mentioned Farscape. Yeah, most people know about that being organic craft. What I think they really took that from, though, was the concept of Tin Man, Star Trek TNG, the episode Tin Man. That was the first time you've seen a real good illustration of organic craft. Well, not really. The TARDIS is organic too. The TARDIS is alive. The TARDIS has got an organic outer shell wrapped around the interior continuum. Sorry, that's geeky, but that's what it is.
I love your references.
Farscape's good with it. That one was more of a newer one. So, well, I guess not nowadays. This Farscape was a while ago now.
Oh my God. Amanda's Crazy Life channel says Barry is awesome. Always so happy. Love him.
Hey, thank you very much, Amanda. It's only because it's cyberspace. In person, you'd be like, man, that guy sucks. Zamek 13 says, in a dream, I was in a sentient ship. The walls appear to be made of stuff similar to compressed peat pots you use for growing seeds. That's interesting. That'd be kind of like mushroomy, kind of, I guess. Peat would be like moss, I think. But plant-based, organic.
Plant-based. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, man, this has been a really good show today. I've really enjoyed this one. Okay, like I enjoy every show that I've ever done, but this was fun today, and making all these connections, Barry. Like this is stuff I wasn't expecting today because I don't even know what. Honestly, like I was just diving headfirst into something I don't know anything about today. Okay, is what I did, and you were here to glue it all together for us today, and I do appreciate that. You were the super glue today.
Oh, well, thanks. I didn't know much about that particular one outside of the crystal mass stuff. I hadn't heard that with the reptilian, not that part. So I was like, man, I don't know much about that. So thanks, I appreciate it.
Of course, Dan, thank you for being here too. We love you too. And I have not remote viewed the Euphrates River. I don't know what's going on with that, but I have not remote viewed that I know of.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Isn't that weird? Like there's supposed to be like fallen angels underneath it or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm confused.
Or is it the beings or the beast that was supposed to be tied up in there, or chained up?
Yeah, something like that.
Revelations, maybe?
Something like that. I know. Are we in the end times right now? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, it sure does look like it.
It feels like it, don't it?
You only know the change of the season by the changing of the leaves on the trees. My mom talks about that before she had passed. She said she was seeing a lot of that stuff.
Oh, man. Well, as long as the beasts don't come out and try to eat all of us. Okay. And so I'm there. I'm chasing them down. there'll be some of us there to try to stop it if that happens. Okay, but I don't know. What a wild and crazy show today, though, and the fact that I loved it, and the fact that we do have broadcasters of all the people. It's just so weird that it's like news broadcasters are the main examples that we have, and if you look online, the main examples of like glitched out celebrities or whatever, it's usually the news broadcasters, the ones that are giving us our daily programming, right?
See, they're showing me stuff again. You see?
Okay.
And I didn't like this movie. It was Superman, Man of Steel. Sorry, y'all, didn't like it. Good effects, but didn't like it. But they keep showing me when he pops that cat or the chick, and their Kryptonian masks start phasing out, like, and they're like clear crystal plastic, and they're like boom, boom, and then they get jacked up. They can't breathe our atmosphere yet. Somebody in chat knows what I'm talking about. They've seen that horrible movie. I don't want to call it horrible. It did like it, but the effects were good. But when he would punch the woman he was fighting, something starts happening, and it breaks down this shield. But it looks like what you're describing, a glitch. Wow, that's crazy. And it's even the clear of it also. I guess that's why they're showing me that. And that's alien technology. Okay, I got you.
Whoa. That's a cool connection right there, actually. That's not a cool connection. Dan, he said celebrities are trash. Dan.
What did he say?
He said celebrities are trash.
Sadly,
maybe not all of them. Okay, not all of them. I don't know. It depends on who you consider to be a celebrity. Okay,
it's just a bad industry, and I it's so weird because I'm hearing so much now. Yeah, I've had people for years telling me since Prince died that he's their angel and he's appeared to them. I've had many people tell me that, and I take it with a grain of salt. But when I heard about Sheila E.'s testimony, that man is speaking from the grave. If I've ever heard it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've kept up with I try not to keep up with that. That is so like, I feel like it takes my vibe down when I pay attention to stuff like that. It's just something else for us to have our vibes, our attention kind of put on, and to keep us drained of that loosh. I'm just saying, but you're right though. I know what you're talking about.
The fact that Bill Cosby might have some roofies in the Jello pops. The Jello pops.
Don't take a drink.
There's some roofies off in there. Jello pudding pops. He's roofie.
Don't take a drink from them.
Guess you better stick to Reading Rainbow with LeVar Burton instead. No more. Hey.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Miss Angie. Thank you for being here.
Man, I remember some years ago, I had posted this thing. It was just a joke, but it was Snow White laying on her thing asleep, and Bill Cosby standing over going, sorry. Sorry, Patch. It's just a movie. I didn't make it. People I posted though, people got mad. It went over about as good as the Fabio Pleiadian workout. Got me in hot water, man.
Oh my God. Oh, Channel Warhorse says we're in prison on a planet of love. Prison on a planet of love. Yeah, it's kind of a prison of our own minds too, right? It's a prison of our own minds, and so it's escaping, and it is the Matrix. Really, it's the Matrix. It's getting out of that, and to combat it, there are ways to combat this, and we talked about it at the beginning of the show. We are hacking, and it's literally hacking the timeline. And I think Susan earlier had said that. I actually started that comment. I thought that was really cool. Susan Donahue, thank you for that. I'm pretty sure we are hacking the timeline, and we're hacking away right now. We're doing that Judy chop, okay, on the timeline. So everybody knows my reference to that. We are hacking the timeline right now, and it is tapping into a higher consciousness and being aware of what's going on around us. That's the big thing, y'all. And,
Area 50. I mean, they had to get someone who looked like him for the new Superman, the guy from the Twisters movies. You might be talking about Brandon Roth, which was that other Superman movie, and it was terrible. He was trying to be Christopher Reeve. The other guy was trying to be Gene Hackman. It was a terrible movie. But that guy went on. There's that Lois and Clark, not the one with Dean Cain, but the new one that just got done. That guy comes back and is playing Superman, and from an alternate universe, you've got the guy Tyler Henrik, whatever his name is, and you've got Brandon Roth too. That's Superman, and also Tom Welling shows up. Smallville, yo. Sorry, I was just young enough to enjoy me some Smallville, man. The first 3 seasons are really good.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to check out a lot of these different movies and stuff. I'm going to go back and watch Terminators, I guess, and the Sarah Connor Chronicles as well. I think it's worth giving these things a second look, y'all. Okay, just to see what all we missed back in the 1980s and 90s or whenever those movies came out. Let's go back and see, because they were telling us back then what was science fiction to us at the time, but now it's science reality, apparently.
Well, you know what they were really, really keen on back then? It started in the 70s. Well, I guess the 60s, really the 70s, but the 80s was really into it. Well, everybody talks about AI now. I mean, the 80s wanted to be exactly where we're at right now. When you look at things like, you know, one of the first artificial intelligence I saw was before HAL. It was called Dr. Theopolis on Buck Rogers in the 25th century. You had Tweaky, the little robot, Biggie. I met that cat just before he died, actually, that actor. We talked for a little while. Nice guy. But he, on around his neck, he had one of the planet council members, Dr. Theopolis, whose little thing he wore on his neck. Okay, and and then they showed like a planet council member. There were like all these things like Dr. Theopolis sitting on a ledge, like 10 of them. But I mean, they were showing that, or Knight Rider. Take away the turbo boosts that were not very realistic, but what they called molecular bondage cell that was supposed to be on Kit that make him impervious to everything. Jessica, that's metamaterials like they're putting on the tanks right now. He'd be riding in there. Michael, Devin's calling on the microwave line, and he pushed the button and the screen go, yo, Devin, they're Skyping. They were Skyping on the regular Star Trek. They also had Bluetooth on there. On the original Star Trek.
Oh, really?
Look at that. Or Knight Rider, he's the kid. Plot me a course to Las Vegas off the major highways. You see right away, Michael, you see the thing. Coordinates. It's GPS, man. I'm just saying, there's stuff like that is really that's coming in right now from the TV stuff. It's very interesting. All the stuff that, or maybe Matthew Broderick. What was it that he got in trouble with? The Whopper. The Whopper. That was what, a quantum computer. I thought that's what maybe quantum computers look like because of that movie. Remember, shall we play a game? He had hacked into it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really named Joshua, though, that the other guy had made. So it was just a computer they used to run like NATO or whatever. That was an interesting movie when it comes to, I think, artificial intelligence. You know, and I had somebody ask me, an individual who comes forward every now and again, since I come forward, and they come for these weird email, but it's always the same one, but they're super heavy. And, you know, they told me that they actually designed security systems for Fortune 5 companies.
What?
And then they asked me, they said, they were watching my video, they said, Barry, have you ever seen a quantum computer? And I was like, actually, no, I haven't. I said, I imagined it looked something like the Whopper. From War Games.
Whopper.
I don't know. I'm sorry, man. Something like that. He was something similar to that. And she said, no, they sent me some stuff, and I looked it up. And the first one was the IBM quantum computer they sent me to look at. And just got tripped out when I saw it.
Did you?
Because the way it looks, and all the quantum computers that I was able to look up, they look similar. But if you turn this thing upside down, it looks like the thing in the middle of the TARDIS on Doctor Who that goes up and down, the time rotator. It looks quite similar to that. And that can't be a coincidence. You know what I mean? Yeah, it freaked me out. And it made me look even deeper into quantum computing than what I was aware of. You know, and we start dealing with quantum computing and 3D printing. I think it's really taken us the next forward to what we're going to be doing civilization-wise anyway. Mm-hmm. Maybe we start jumping to that type 1 civilization finally. You know, maybe.
I hope so. We got to raise that consciousness of everybody and quit living in fear and quit living as prisoners of the reptilian empire. Okay, and I think it's I think it's happening. I think it's happening.
I wouldn't argue.
But we got to keep working on it, y'all. Okay, let's keep working on it. Pay attention. Pay attention to your surroundings, to your how you feel, to your energy. You know, protect your energy. That's our biggest asset, y'all. Protect your energy. You know, armor up, full armor of God. Okay. Tap into your superhuman abilities, your enhanced human capabilities and stuff too. What are you laughing at, Mary? Is there something?
Hey, Brown Dwarf. I know you're a little younger than me, but hey, man, I'd rather have one like Wily Kit and Wily Cat from the Thundercats. They had hoverboards. They were better. They were built by Panthro, man. I'm sorry, I'm just playing there.
He said he'll find the hoverboard plug for the shop. You'll need to get some hoverboards in. That would be kind of cool. We should be having hoverboards by now, right?
Well, if you look, we're supposed to have flying cars according to Jetsons by like 99. Yeah. And there are no flying cars. You see, it's on Star Wars. They're all flying around in flying cars. Mm-hmm. You know, no such thing here. You have to even get a solar powered car here that works good.
I know. Well, you know, I'm seeing videos from like the 1800s and stuff, and like early 1900s, like old world technology and stuff that was more advanced than, or just is the same as what we have today. Some of it was probably more advanced, had more ingenuity behind it. I think. I don't know. Like I said, we're being, according to Lynn Caston, okay, the guy from Project Serpo, the author. He says that we are being purposely dumbed down. Technologies are being kept from us, y'all. Of course, we already knew that. Everything's being kept from us. It's all being trickled out at their, at their leisure. Whoever the controllers are at the Reptilian Empire.
The Galactic Empire that he's speaking of, like I said before, I don't believe that necessarily it's a reptilian thing. I think it's much worse than that. I think they're the puppets that some see and blame. But I think that they're no more puppets, and the real ones are demonics, inorganics that are billions and billions of years old. You know what I mean? And they're the ones that are doing this feeding and stuff. And it's when dealing with that galactic empire mentality, your work without me and with me has shown this. And I especially want to go back to TRAPPIST-1. And to William Tompkins, what he was saying about there being a slavery in this galaxy. The Milky Way is still not very evolved and has a problem with slavery from some of the lower civilizations, which are way more advanced than us. Like 2 million years, but still there's a problem with slavery here. That takes us into some testimony we've heard from like Rodriguez and some other people, but what you saw in TRAPPIST-1, a big supporter of that. And you saw something bad on one of the other exoplanets we looked at, but TRAPPIST-1, that was the worst one though.
I was seeing slavery. I remember that it was I think the way I described it was like it's Earth in the future, but with a lot of slavery. I was actually pretty concerned for our planet after I got done with that target. I was like, oh gosh, is this our future?
Exactly. I had that client. And they were actually referred to me. We did a few sessions, but one of them, it was heavy, man. Not just how they tracked this individual before they were born from last incarnation, because what they were doing last incarnation, trying to bring planets into galactic fold. Okay, so here they're attacked. They're set up before they even incarnate by them attacking their parents. Then they did similar to them what happened to your buddy, Arkeem
Ra.
Yeah, him, and I've met some others that talk about the gifted program.
The tag program.
They took a gifted program. Them to tested like probably 60 people in the school, but only 4 people qualified to get to go to the Air Force Base.
Oh gosh!
And they go to the Air Force Base to do a special field trip. And then,
it's like to the Montauk chair we have down here.
Well, I mean, it's so interesting because I could pick up, and I'm skilled enough prior to even become a hypnotist. I know about not just screen memories and decoys, but I know a lot about screen memories, and I can detect them. And something like, for example, like the individual keeps talking about this gumball machine, and it's a a ball of gumballs, and they had to try to guess how many were in there, because then you get to keep the ball, take it home. How many of us did something like that at carnivals? But in reality, they were using that as a screen memory on this individual, why they exposed them to liquid, to water that had some type of drugs in it that made them not as susceptible to the time technology they were being exposed to, which sounds like inertial drag frame type of technology. Okay. And then after that, 2 of the people, of the 4 of them, were too physically weak to go to all the little field trips.
Mm-hmm.
But one of them that they weren't strong enough to go to, and this individual was they're in like I want to call it a complex, like many buildings around, but a landing strip in the middle, a huge one. Okay. And UFOs start landing. Most of them saucer-like, one of them cigar-like, and the ramps open, and all these different beings start coming out and standing around.
Oof.
And these children are placed on this platform, and their number one goal is to summon this being, this entity. I can't remember what the name was, but it was one, when you look it up, it's one of those demons that's way high ranking, okay? Some type of a demon. An individual saying that all these beings, and some of the beings, I mean, they're describing these different ships, several of them, different beings lining everywhere, and how, I let them describe how different they all are. Just because some of them are ants, like ants as we know them, but about 3 feet long, 4 feet long. Not humanoid ants.
Big
You had
ants.
octopi type, you had others, different beings. And then the individual starts telling me, some of these beings won't look at me. And they were from different races, and certainly said they're turning their back. They won't look. And I feel so much shameness coming from them. They feel ashamed. They shouldn't be a part of this. But only us 3 can summon this entity, this demonic type of entity. And when it's summoned, I take the individual deeper. I want to know what it looks like.
What did it look like?
The first screen memory type of things we would consider a demon, with the horns, the goat look,
like
yada,
the devil.
Yada.
Oh, Lucifer.
That whole the minotaur demonic goat thing, basically.
The goat man.
And you go through the screen memory. You know what it really looks like?
What? A gray?
An extremely bright light being of a silver color, more whitish, very bright.
Well, he is the light bearer, isn't he?
It put off. This wasn't Satan, but it was something high up there. But this thing was putting out so much projection.
Wow.
So the children wouldn't perceive what it really looked like. And it was such a big deal that all these different civilizations are there to have these Earth children summon this thing. Out of all these civilizations, they can't do it with their technology or psychically. They need these children to do it. I'm just saying, this is something I am tired when doing the work. Okay. And I can't say that's not SSP, but this was something a little bit different. Horrible, demonic, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. What is the end goal for all of that, though? Like, why would they even do that, Barry?
They were summoning this being, I guess, to get its help.
To destroy the world?
Probably, I'd imagine.
To destroy us?
You understand, I'm already sticking my foot in the bear trap. So why you go so far? You know what I mean? But as far as I know, it's destruction of the world, and definitely to keep people on the lower vibration of fear and hate and all that. That was coming through a lot on that, because some of these civilizations were negative that they were describing, but some of them weren't. But they were like beings that were interacting that shouldn't have been there. Like, what do you want to call it? Refugees or what do we call it? I want to say descenders, but that's not the right word, is it? Anyway, but just that they were from these civilizations that weren't in with what these pastors were doing, but this was some demonic regime of alliance between these other civilizations. And it's so weird because the past life I did with this person, a whole different session, they were describing being on another planet in, wasn't wasn't Centaurus, was it Cassiopeia? I can't remember now, but it was, but they were describing a higher existence and being on board a ship in a civilization, part of a civilization that was part of a fleet. And what they did was do rescues on planets that were turning type 1 civilization to try to make them positive and not become part of galactic trade and not fall into darkness. That was
part
what
of the Reptilian
this
Empire.
entire work was. Then they start saying in their next incarnation, they're going to come to Earth and do that. And they're seeing their parents on the screen. These are the parents I've chosen.
Well, we could use some help.
This is before they died that last lifetime. They're about to die. And then they die, go through the process of translation and reconfiguration, that place. Then they incarnate. But it's upon their incarnation, their parents had already been co-opted.
Wow.
And one of the parents was in the military.
Really?
Yes.
Well, we could definitely use some more help.
I think that wasn't by coincidence either. You know.
No, probably not. Probably not. Man, I don't know. This is a lot to think about. I have a lot to think about. And yeah.
One more thing real quick, all right? I'll shut up.
Okay.
We mentioned that field of energy that people come through when they incarnate here, that these beings told me about. And it's similar to a type of scalar technology. I want to say it's exactly scalar, but similar in that there's electrical field with it that actually has a negative effect on the orgone energy of our soul. And it helps us with soul life memories, losing soul life memories, the eternal ones. Okay. Mm-hmm. That is the same field of energy that you saw when you were remote viewing the brown, the dwarf planets that I said there were bases on. You didn't know what it was, but you're saying this field of energy thing, you're describing this net that this being had told me about, this insectoid. It's very dangerous for them and us. Okay. Now, when dealing with that type of technology, what I would reference, people can look up, check out the Tesla howitzer scalar interferometer, interferometer. Check that out. The Tesla howitzer scalar interferometer. And that will take you into similar, what Reagan calls the Star Wars program. Mm-hmm. Star Wars program was designed not just to shoot down enemy missiles and objects, but also it could be reversed polarity wise and turned into a defense shield to stop anything from coming in. When you're dealing with that defense type of shield, you know, that's similar to this net. And that's why I would pay attention to things like what Corey Goode was saying before he got into all that crap he's in. But he talked about, you know, some things that were similar to that there was a way that cats could not get out of this galaxy. I don't think it's this galaxy, but this planet could be like that, the type of interferometer. And that's human technology that can be turned around. Anyone can look that up. I just gave you. Food for thought only, for entertainment purposes only. Only.
Yeah, no, that's great information. Wonderful information. Oh, I saw Angie said she was in the gifted program too. Well, you might have been more than just a gifted program, lady. Okay. But man, this is such great information today. And everything has just like continues to go full circle with what we're talking about with the reptilian glitch outs and the advanced technology masks and the holographic masks and the energy fields and metallic liquid metals and the Terminator. Man, if you guys are just getting here right now, if you're watching this live, please go back to the beginning and watch this from the very beginning. This has been a fantastic show today, just jam-packed with some of the best information, and it does apply to our everyday lives, y'all. It actually does, and into our future and to our past. So thank you guys so much for being here today. This is just awesome. Barry, thank you so much for being here. Please tell the audience like where they can find you, about your YouTube channel, your Patreon, and your services, anything you want to talk about.
No problem. You can find me on YouTube. I've done a lot of stuff under Barry Littleton. I can be emailed for services at barrylittleton13@gmail.com. I've been doing sessions again. I do hypnosis, past life regressions, ET regressions, earthbound spirit release. I also do negative identity dissolvement. Don't need to be hypnotized for that necessarily. I also do readings and stuff. Find me on Patreon under Barry Littleton. Also Instagram under Barry Littleton. I tend to post a lot of stuff on Facebook sometimes under Barry Littleton. No cool handles or anything yet. You know, look for that handle. You know? Yeah.
It does make it easy to find you, though.
Yeah. Oddly, Edgar Allan Poe, that's the name he used. His writing name, Barry Littleton. Yeah. So
really,
I'm not Edgar Poe. Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that. I just learned something new today. That is really cool. Well, thank you so much, Barry. You guys, please go over and subscribe to Barry's channel if you hadn't already. Barry Littleton on YouTube, y'all. And he's got plenty of videos. Barry, you actually did post one of the videos in the chat today. We'll go back and post it down in the comments. I'll pin it underneath the video today. Of this video, we'll pin that video down there, and so the audience can check that out as well and go over and subscribe. Okay, great. Thank you, Barry. I appreciate that. Well, that's wonderful. And I see Jane's in the chat. She says to have a great day, everyone, and keep your vibrations high. That is how we combat any kind of negative forces out there. Keep your vibrational frequency as high as possible, y'all. And just raise your consciousness. Never stop learning. Get creative, y'all. And just love yourself and love each other. And that's how we get through all this together. Okay. And so y'all come back and see me tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll have a show live here. And so come see me. And then I'll be back on Saturday as well. And Barry, you've been doing some lives lately. You got a live plan for this week?
Yeah. You know, I'll probably maybe I'll do something this weekend. If nothing else, I might try to start doing something on Monday, like routinely or something. Spirit is pushing me to it. So you've been helping me. So I'll do something definitely. It'll be something. That's what should be just maybe something fun, like Brother from Another Planet or something fun. It's not so, because I've been kind of coming down on some of the crap that goes on in the community. So I want to do something a little more levity. You know what I mean?
It's been intense, but I mean, everybody enjoys it, and you are, you're a big voice, and what you have to say matters, and so yeah, you're very relatable. Okay, when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Yeah.
You just have a forgiving audience, that's all.
Man, well, there's a lot of people that agree with you on a lot of things you say there. Okay, so but yeah, it's always fun hanging out with you, and we got to spend our Wednesday hanging out talking about reptilian shape-shifting liquid metal face masks.
Chopping it up.
Chopping it up over here, talking about some crazy stuff, but making it all make sense. Making things that don't make sense make sense. I think that's fun. Okay. And so I hope everybody learned a little something today. And I want to thank you guys again for all being here. And thank you so much for all the support today. And Kent, thank you for the super sticker. And Maureen, thank you for gifting those 10 Cryptid Hunters memberships. That's huge. I really do appreciate that. So y'all, you can join the Hunt Club. I call it the Hunt Club. It's the membership here on YouTube. Just hit the join button on my main page over on YouTube. And I have exclusive content that I put out. I try to put a video out every week. I got sick for a couple of weeks, so I didn't put one out for a couple of weeks, but I've got a new one up there now. So y'all go back, you can see the whole library of all the videos I put up when you join the Hunt Club. And in Long Island Bigfoot, thank you for being a member of the Hunt Club for 14 months. That is so cool. Thank you so much for your support. I do appreciate you. Okay. All right, y'all. I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Y'all have a wonderful day. Do not live in fear. Do not. That is an order. Okay. And y'all come back and see me. All right, Barry. We'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.
Thank you.